Hello, it's the Brian Hornback Experience, somewhere between 175 and 180. I'll get you a good number on the next one. Looks like we're going to have quite a few here this weekend. Big weekend. This is Saturday, January the 18th in the evening. Tennessee basketball lost by 1 at Vanderbilt. Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team beat the Houston Texans in the other NFL game for the Knights getting ready to come on. But just want to come on. It's been a busy week. Going to be a busy weekend. Going to be a busy Monday, the 20th. A lot of sports going on. If you don't follow sports, I kind of leave that up to my buddy Tony Basilio. If you don't know Tony Basilio, and you're watching or listening to me from somewhere other than East Tennessee, if you don't know Tony Basilio, but Tony can be found online. Does a great sports talk show every day, and particularly after a football game, it's good to listen to the fifth quarter. You can stream that from your device if you've got his app, or you can do it on your laptop or your computer. This is the Brian Hornback Experience, coming to you from the Old Forge podcast, the Old Forge Distillery podcast studio. You'd think I'd learn to say that by now. The Old Forge Distillery podcast studio. Appreciate my friends up at Old Forge in Pigeon Forge for being a podcast studio sponsor. So, what's coming up? Coming up on Monday, the 20th, Martin Luther King Day, will also be the inauguration of our 47th president. The same one we had for the 45th president, one Donald J. Trump. Today, I received my Elon Musk MAGA hat. I had some in the previous Trump deal. I had a lot of Trump and his other VP stuff. And I just really had not purchased a lot. I like Vance a lot. I like J.D. Vance, the former senator of Ohio, who will be inaugurated as our next vice president on Monday. I like him a lot. I just didn't really go around purchasing a lot of Trump Vance stuff, but Elon Musk kind of made this hat famous. The MAGA thing in silver on a black hat with "Never Surrender" on the back, on the side, and an American flag on the other side, and Trump on the very back. So I received it today in time for the inauguration. I do want to thank my friend, part of the Gasoline Invertebrates, with their song "Move to Knoxville" as the opening theme song. And if I think of it and don't forget it, we'll do it as an outro. But what happened this week? The month of January, all the Republican parties across the state are supposed to set their dates for reorganization. They have until April the 15th to reorganize for the next 2 years. It's a 2-year cycle. And January 15th was the deadline for them for the local counties to vote to decide when they're going to have their reorganization. Knox County had originally planned to do it on the Saturday before the 15th, which, looking at my calendar to remind myself, that would have been the 11th. As you know, sometime late afternoon, night on Friday the 10th, we got snow, and as you know, if we get anything from a quarter of an inch to 14 inches of snow, it shuts Knoxville down. So we weren't able to meet on the 11th. So then we're going to meet on Monday the 13th, and that didn't cooperate because we had scheduled that. We try to meet in a place where we don't have to pay. We try to meet we have plenty of quasi-governmental buildings we can meet in, And so we had planned to meet at the Fountain City Public Library, but they follow the school schedule, as does the senior centers in Knox County. And so they were closed on Monday the 13th, so we couldn't meet there. If we did, we'd have been meeting outside. So we had thought about meeting on the 14th, but some folks already had made plans to go over to Nashville for the first day of session. Certainly understand folks making travel plans. And first day of session, if you've never participated in it, again, session is every 2 years. So Tuesday began the 114th General Assembly. So that'll be for this year and next year. And so those folks had those commitments. So we ended up meeting on the 15th, the day that was the deadline. And we met at the Cedar Bluff Public Library. The interesting thing about the County Executive Committee, it's really just the chairman, the vice chair, the secretary, the treasurer, the vice treasurer, and then for Knox County, the young Republican president, and then the 6 SEC members, the State Executive Committee members that represent Knox County. And a lot of times, since I've been involved this go around, I've been chairman back to, wow, 20 years ago. Anyway, that was so since I've been on since 21. We've gone through times when nobody's shown up. We've gone by times when we've had a packed room. Well, actually, we've had an overflow room. Down at the Farragut Library, we met one time, and the capacity of the room was 25, and we probably had half of that, probably 12 people standing outside the room. Anyway, it happened again this Wednesday night. Capacity for the room was 47. We had 48 people show up, so somebody had to leave. Joey Ruffalo's wife graciously said, "Hey, I'll go read a book." So we had our meeting. A lot of folks showed up. From what I understand, a local group here in town, local conservative group, had fired folks up over the idea that we were going to have a delegated convention. There has been talk over the last year and a half, 2 years, about returning the Knox County Republican Party to a delegated convention instead of a mass convention. The last 3 elections have been mass elections. There's pros and cons for both. There's been a lot of misinformation out there that it's not allowed by the bylaws. It actually is allowed by the bylaws. If one, as a county, you have your own bylaws. If you don't have your own bylaws, then you default to the state bylaws. And the default of the state bylaws is that you'll have a mass convention. However, it does allow, if you ask for the state chairman's permission, you can have a delegated convention. I know there's already one on the books this month to have a delegated. Blount County has a delegated. I attended their precinct portion 2 years ago. Hamilton County has delegated. So there's several that do, right? But anyway, so there was a lot of gear up for this because they knew that we were voting on the date, location, time for the convention, but nowhere on the agenda did it say that we were voting on the process. Some 33 dozen people, 36 or so people, showed up, I guess prepared to demand a mass convention. But after we got started, our secretary pointed out that since it wasn't on the agenda, that meant that we were going to a default. This meant we're having a mass convention. And so the chairman did say, yes, it'll be a mass convention. So those of you that are interested, the bylaws have changed. Rule E has changed significantly in the last since December 7th. The Bylaws Committee met extensively over Rule E, which governs conventions, reorganization conventions. There is detailed steps for if you have a mass convention or you have a delegated convention. There's been a lot of gray area, a lot of people that wanted gray area intentionally have exploited the gray areas, and so as a state party, the Bylaws Committee, which is the committee I serve on, went very detailed into Rule E, what you are allowed to do, what you aren't allowed to do, and making sure that conventions aren't, but they are followed by the rule, right? That passed the entire state executive committee on December the 7th, so that's in play for this year. And so the chairman and the vice chairman, as soon as we passed that, I made sure that they were aware of the new Rule E, and so they're making sure that they follow the new Rule E to every bit and parcel. And so I encourage you that if you want to participate in any county reorganization, you're required to go to tngop.org, and register. It will give you, it will ask for basic preliminary information: your name, your address, your cell phone, not your cell phone, your phone, your email address, and that way, and then as you select your county, and that way, that comes to the state, and then the state then sends that to whoever is the chairman of the Contest and Credentials Committee for that particular county. And then you will be vetted. In order to participate, you need to have voted in 3 out of the last 4 statewide Republican primaries. That's August of 2024. That is March of 2024. That is August of 2022. And that is August of 2020. If you have voted in, if you've only voted in 2 out of 4, you will not be allowed to participate. And so that is a hard and fast rule. I do encourage everybody, even if you may have been on 2 out of 4, to go ahead and register so that the Contest and Credentials Committee can contact you. Because if you're from out of state, and let's say that you were out of state in 2020 and 2022, if you can secure your voting record from where you were living in 20 and 22, and you can show that you voted in a Republican primary in 20 and 22, the Contest and Credentials Committee can evaluate that. Okay, so just bear with us. As I've told people, we're tilling new ground, and so work with us. We want everybody that can participate to participate. We don't want to exclude anybody, but we want we want people who are Republicans to participate. And so that's the reason for that. So I encourage you to go to tngop.org, register, and we'll get you plugged in whatever county you're in, okay? Also on tngop.org, you can see when the counties that have already, we should be sticking up all the counties now that they had till January 15th. We should start populating that in chronological order via the calendar. And so I'm going to make as many of them in East Tennessee as I can. I don't anticipate going too far into Middle Tennessee, but Putnam County I know is already reorganized. Rutherford County is already reorganized. There's several that have already reorganized, and they were given, I know Rutherford and Putnam, I believe, were given permission to go ahead and reorganize before the 15th. So anybody that had it before the 15th was given permission by the state chairman. Shelby County will be reorganizing on January the 25th. They have a contested chairman's race down there. and they've been doing things. They're allowed district reps because of the population, and so they have quite a few folks that have been running for office, and so we had that discussion. I guess they believe that they were operating under their own local bylaws, and they were in fact not. So they had to come to the bylaws committee on Monday. We approved the number of positions for them to vote on, and then again on Friday we had another meeting to talk about some process going forward. And so again, I think what you'll find in most of the people that are currently serving is we want to be as inclusive for people who are Republicans as we can. Also, Tuesday, the legislature reconvened. They passed some rules. They're getting some interesting things that came out of that opening session. Is that they are installing. If you watch the legislature, you got to go to the Tennessee General Assembly website, and you can watch any of their committee meetings. You can watch their House sessions, Senate sessions, all live streamed, and it's also archived in the videos for you. But the State House has installed some voting apparatus in the House hearing rooms now. So in the past, when people have complained that a voice vote may not have really been all the yays and all the nays, they're actually installing a voting system in the House meeting rooms. And so those will be recorded on the big screen in the House meeting rooms now. So that's good. And they also passed some rules. If you remember, we had a couple of 3 members that got expelled for a period during the last session. So now if you break the rules consistently, you will be given an opportunity to go to one of the House hearing rooms, and you'll be able to cast your votes remotely. One of the criticisms was that if a member misbehaved in the chamber and they got expelled, then those people weren't those constituents' votes weren't counted. Now that's going to happen. So it's going to be up to that representative to then make their way to a room to cast their votes. If they can't make the person that gets expelled from the room go to the remote room to vote, but that way the onus is on the member that misbehaved to not be casting a vote for their constituents. Interestingly enough, also this year in neighboring state of Georgia, State Representative Colton Moore out of Northwest Georgia tried to enter the House chambers, and apparently he wanted to hear the State of the State address by the governor, Brian Kemp. Now, Kemp and Colton Moore are both Republicans, from what I found out, but apparently Colton Moore had been critical of a former House Speaker, and so he was forbidden to enter the House floor, to the point that he was shoved to the ground by Sergeant of Arms and Georgia Highway Patrol. They arrested him, and he didn't do anything during the State of the State to be barred from the room. He simply was barred from entering the room for the State of the State, and that's wrong. But hey, my biggest frustration with the 1 or 2 in Tennessee, one of the 3 has made a lot of noise in this week about the new rules, and he always wants to talk about democracy. This is not democracy. This is not how democracy works. My friend, the U.S. government was built as a representative republic. A representative republic. I really wish that you, sir, would refer to this as a representative republic instead of a democracy. Anyway, that's just my soapbox issue for the day. that's probably enough to catch you up for this week. This coming week, things will be a little bit slower on the state legislative side. Obviously, Monday is Martin Luther King Day and the inauguration, right? On the 27th, which is the Monday after this Monday, the legislature will go into special session over the governor's school voucher program and disaster relief for Upper East Tennessee thanks to Hurricane Helene. So I will be doing another podcast here very, very soon. Probably cut it tomorrow and get it up. And we're going to talk about what I see, not my opinion on school vouchers, not what I think the legislature should do, but just give you the elementary version of what it is to the best of my ability, and we'll go from there. I also want to talk to you about February 6th is the deadline for legislators to put their bills into the hopper to be considered for this year. There are a couple bills that the Tennessee Coalition for Open Government are opposing, and obviously we'll be talking about that too. Anyway, hope y'all are doing well, and we're going to head out with the tune Move to Knoxville. Should I start doing the Donald Trump dance? I'd have to stand for that, wouldn't I? Thanks for tuning in to the Old Forge Distillery Podcast Studio, the Brian Hornback Experience. We will be back.